We're here with Harper O'Connor. Harper O'Connor, welcome to Horseshoe Theory.
Thank you for having me.
You are a grind hustle communist.
Sort of, yeah.
Well, how would you describe? You make grind hustle content for leftists. That's been your line since you've been here.
Yeah, anytime I introduce myself to somebody here, I say I make grind set videos for communists. But the serious explanation, I guess, for what I do is I help new leftists get educated and organized. I think there's kind of two kinds of content you can make on YouTube. There's educational content and there's entertainment content. Most of the leftist content on YouTube right now is of the entertainment variety, sort of like video essays, media analysis, reacting to the news, debates, that kind of thing. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that sort of content. I think it's helpful to get people thinking about new ideas that they may not have otherwise considered. I mean, like you're not gonna. I mean, I did 4 years of undergraduate economics, and I think the word capitalism was not said until I was probably a senior. You know, we didn't learn about Marx, for instance, until I took a history of political economy class, and so the man got maybe, a week. So, it's like this entertainment content, I think, is a good way of getting people introduced to the ideas in a way that is accessible to them and that's entertaining. And I certainly started out doing that and like consuming that and then producing that. So I think it's valuable, but I kind of see myself as like downstream from those people. So if you're kind of if you're one of these kind of like new leftists who is imbibing these ideas and you're kind of engaged, like you're in this media flow, just like this wash of content. At a certain point, like if you're undergoing this process of transformation, you kind of have to emerge from that chrysalis, I think. And the way that you do that is by getting involved in your community. And that's the part that makes it all meaningful. Otherwise, it's just words on a screen. It's in your head.
You're one of the few people we've had on this podcast that actually does things in the real world. See, normally we get on thinkers. We get on thinky
ideas guys.
We get on the ideas guys.
Yeah.
And, to be fair, we are here. The theme of this podcast is you're going to pitch us an ideas guy sort of situation. But
Yeah.
I do want to get into the fact that you actually participate in the community and do leftist organizing in real life. So you worked with Zoran. That's what your last video has been about. Tell us a little bit about how you, I don't know, maybe what's a good question here about like actually organizing?
Actually organizing.
Maybe we could talk about how it differs from the internet.
Yeah, like how's the real world different from the online world? When you go out and you actually start like organizing leftists.
Yeah.
Surely you don't have to ever collaborate with chuds, right?
No, I would never talk to a chud.
Great.
If I saw one, I would cross the street. But I'd say the main difference between like speaking about these ideas on the internet versus trying to like put them into practice is that you have to speak with people and coordinate with people. And I guess the word that I would use is friction. The real world is like a crucible that will test your mettle, so to speak. And I think there's a lot of people who have very like out there ideas and they have got very complicated sort of abstruse ideologies in their head that they've manufactured and sort of built like this ship in the bottle over the course of years and years of like reading and like carefully curating their media diet. But when you go into the real world, that's where the rubber meets the road. And so your actions have consequences because you're doing things and there's a cause and effect relationship that will sort of your ideology must be in conversation with reality. And the internet, again, it's totally like frictionless plane where there's no consequences for saying things that are wrong. Once you go into the real world, you're forced to scientifically test your ideas. And it is kind of a scientific process. It's that you come up with a hypothesis and you put it into action, you're testing it, and then we get to see if you were right or not. The internet has none of that.
Yeah. There's no friction on the internet. Like you can just have your ideas And then that's why the most radical ideas always win out on the internet as well, is because there's nothing stopping you from, you don't have to test. You can get even more radical and just purity test the people.
Yeah.
To
in a certain
closer to
sense, you're
center.
rewarded for it.
Yeah, because then you occupy more interesting space ideologically, and that's all that matters is like what you're saying and your ideas, because your actions are
there's no
ephemeral.
action on
There's
the
no
internet.
action.
Yeah,
Your action is type.
Yeah,
It's sort of like everybody, like my education background. I did a lot of like philosophy and critical theory, and every first year student has this problem where they've read at the time you're like 18 or 19, you've read like 10 books, and those 10 books are like your worldview, right? Like your only concept of like ideas is the 10 fucking books you've read, and you become really idiosyncratic. You become like you're not testing, and you're not interfacing with reality. And you get like that type of person who like does so well on the internet, the person who like their fucking worldview makes no sense if you pressed it at all. But as a video essay, I've been guilty of that, but as a video essay, it works well because it's entertaining.
yeah. As a Twitter persona, it sells,
Yeah.
but in reality, it's different. Like
Call some people out. As a leftist, do some leftist infighting for us.
Well, you don't have to.
Yeah, I don't really watch too much stuff, so I don't
He's
really
offline.
know anybody who I would.
I saw
call out,
this.
honestly.
I saw this. I was referencing all this recent drama, and you hadn't heard of any of it because you've got a pure, clean mind.
Oh, thanks.
Perfectly polished.
Yeah.
And you know, this actually fits into your grind hustle mentality, because you're like, well, what, like, you know, if I'm doing all that I can do on a personal level, I don't have to keep up with all this stuff that's just torturing me, right?
Yeah. Okay, so you are probably addicted to social media, and one of the things that I'll advise you to do is like get involved to the extent that you feel like you should be, right? And once you're doing as much as you can, I give you permission to totally tune out of all news.
Yeah.
And drama. You don't have to pay attention to any of this stuff anymore, because you clocked in, you did your shift, and you're done. Now you can go read or
imagine
hang
a
out
world
with
where you
people.
never knew who H3 or Destiny were.
Yeah.
Wouldn't that be awesome?
Would you be any worse off?
You'd be better off.
Would you lose anything by that? But you know, you have to get on. You have to make sure that you're abreast of all the latest drama, so that you can condemn the people who deserve to be condemned.
Wrong.
Good for you, brother. You're on it. No, I mean, I don't blame anybody, because it's what you have. Like it's the way of the world. So
It is incredibly dark. It's incredibly dark. I think the amount of people that engage with their lens from which they engage with real world problems are through the opinions of content creators fighting with each other. Right? Like Israel and Palestine's the fucking archetypal example of
The
that.
Israel-Palestine drama is insane.
Yeah, it's fucked up. It's insane.
Israel, which seems to be this place that Destiny likes. I did
the situation is crazy.
I did the ContraPoints apology, and I replaced all instances of Israel with H3 and Palestine with Hassan. So I was like, do I feel angry that H3 is being cringe on the internet? Yes, but I also feel a lot of other things.
That's really what it is, though.
Yeah.
Because it's like now we've gone from the situation, the reality of the situation is when men, women, and children being bombed. And then it's abstracted one level to now we're debating about protests on campuses. And then it's abstracted a third level to now we're arguing about H3 versus Hassan. And it's like a fucking, I shouldn't cuss. I try not to cuss.
You can say whatever you want.
Well, I know I can cuss on the program. I just try not to
Meaning
cuss
morally,
as
yeah.
a guy.
He's such a pure guy.
That's fair.
Harper, I think you're like the perfect man.
Oh, thanks.
I was thinking this as you were doing your presentation. I'm like, man, this guy must be very attractive to women. Smart, handsome, high IQ. I said smart already, but like good. You were presenting well. You must do well.
Thanks.
You do have good ideas. I was very taken. Maybe go through your because you gave a presentation here 2 nights ago, and just do the footnotes of the presentation so people can kind of get an understanding of.
Well, if we get into this, it can't be footnotes, because it's got to be. You got to pitch this idea to us.
Yeah.
Maybe not long form, because that was a long presentation. Sure. But you're essentially, the idea you're coming here to pitch us is a leftist case for martial law.
Yeah.
as an eco-Stalinist to fight climate change?
Sure.
And you're an eco-Stalinist.
No.
Yes.
No.
Yes. For
I'm
the
not.
next hour, you're an eco-Stalinist.
For the next hour, I'm an eco-Stalinist.
That's the packet. That's the marketing of this video.
When
the
if you see
packaging.
me in the social democrat in the streets, eco-Stalinist in the and on the internet. Okay, I'll do the pitch. Sure. So basically, the kind of, I mean, like we can start with the facts. The world is warming. Climate change is happening. That's going to lead to a lot of resource scarcity. It's going to lead to a lot of conflict.
Already is.
Yeah, it already has.
Already has.
In a sense. Yeah.
You brought up the Syrian refugee conflict, which was created by a once in a 100-year drought.
Yeah.
So we could say, okay, it's just been 100 years. Or
Right.
we could say, well, these droughts are getting more and more frequent.
Once in a 100-year droughts are going to become once
And then-
in
Yeah.
a decade.
or
droughts
once every year.
eventually.
Or
Yeah.
like just constantly.
Right.
And I think that's the best case to win skeptics over on climate change. Because I think people who are climate skeptics are the sort of people who have listened to university students yap about how like the world's gonna be underwater in 50 years. But like that's not the case.
Yeah.
The case is that it's like leading to global conflict and
Right.
like overall precarity.
Yeah. Also, people get defensive because they immediately think that the next thing you're going to say is, and that's why the carbon tax should be 10% more. Or that's why, we need to, you need to feel bad about yourself because you don't recycle
Yes.
enough. Or you need to take less planes. That's why people have that initial, like, you can't even say it's hot today without half of the population being like, what do you mean it's hot?
go again.
Here we go again.
More liberal bullshit.
And so we cannot start from a place of just discussing facts. And that's a
Yeah.
big problem because it doesn't matter if you're on the right or left. The facts, don't care about your feelings, so to speak.
Yeah.
And these things are happening.
Yeah.
I think we can start with the facts, but if your conclusion is so you need to recycle,
Yeah.
people understand intuitively that that's not even a solution.
Yeah.
So
Or the anti-natalists. I
Yeah.
hear that one
We should
frequently of like we
all kill ourselves.
Yeah, like having kids is irresponsible in a
Yeah.
changing world. Like that's a horrible fucking argument. You're not winning
Well,
people over with that.
Let's start with you, buddy. And,
There's,
the people who want to
See, I agree. I
Yeah.
think anti-natalists, they assume that everyone's life is bad, but it's really just theirs. So I agree
Yeah.
that you shouldn't have been born.
Yeah.
No,
Greg's a pro-natalist now.
I
I, want
don't-
him over.
I
Hold on,
don't mean
I'm not a
that,
pro-natalist.
by the way.
I'm not a pro. I'm an anti-natalist.
We've done this podcast for a year and a half where I've cried about the beauty of family creation, and finally it clicked for Greg. He saw a baby. He saw a happy family out in the street, and he felt something.
Hey, just because I see the beauty of a family doesn't mean I'm gonna have kids. It just means I see the beauty of
You're
family.
anti-natalist.
I'm anti-natalist. Yeah.
As you should be.
That's a pretty reasonable position, I'd say.
Yeah.
And I don't want you to actually kill yourself, antinatalist people.
Never kill yourself.
No, it's okay. It's all good.
Never ever kill yourself because we need you in the war against robots.
Right. Yeah, I
Um,
got a mission for you. So
yeah.
well, I need you. And
Before
then
you
have
kill
my
yourself, there's a
permission to
lot
die.
of, you could direct that energy towards any number of oil executives and CEOs. So, just kidding. Anyway,
I didn't say it. He
let's
said it.
let's go on.
Yeah.
Let's continue.
So, I mean, I think everybody, like, we're facing a crisis, and the crisis is intensifying. Once the solution that we've mentioned already is keeping track of your carbon footprint, the liberal solution, which is not even really a solution. It's a way of feeling better. It's a way of like easing off into like kind of the death of civilization.
It's a Catholic indulgence. You tithe 10%.
Yeah, it's like
using today's sponsor, ren.com/drag.
yeah, just turning on your electric car in the
That's a-
garage.
that's a real
and-
link,
and
by the way.
drifting off into oblivion.
Yeah.
The other solution is to not go gently into that good night and do what we could call eco-fascism. So here's the logic, right? If Westerners are consuming at a level that is unsustainable, one of the solutions is just to get rid of anybody who isn't a Westerner, or any like old person, right? I think this just hyper militarize the borders and institute insane austerity regimes on third world countries, or in extreme cases, just get rid of them. To be clear, this is not like I'm not pro that.
It's not
but
desirable.
no, and like my whole project is trying to avoid that eventuality. But if we want to like reckon with what surviving the climate crisis is actually going to take, like we have to acknowledge what we're headed towards.
Damn.
Yeah.
Can you
What we're headed
imagine
towards
the
is
culture
that.
and human value we would lose if we nuked the capital of every third world country?
Yeah. Why'd you say it like that and look at me like that?
It would just be a tragedy. Like billions dead.
Billions must die.
Yeah.
That's a good point because I think ecofascism as a general vibe is an underrated force in ideology right now. You see a lot of people who started from racism and have now folded in a sort of eco-fascist rhetoric into their first principle of racism. You see people who like go look at like there's this meme on Twitter where if you drop the orange guy anywhere on India on Google Maps, there's trash. And it's like the challenge is to find somewhere in India that isn't like covered in litter, and you can go over the entire country, and like every single blue zone, like any street view, is covered in litter. So it's like they already have this hatred of the third world. They already have this hatred of like anyone that's not like a Western built on Protestant values. Then they're like, oh yeah, and plus they're like dirty and destroying the planet. So it's a very like it's a rising. That is not an obscure ideology anymore. That is a rising ideology.
Right. But I mean, I think the root of that really is racism. Not a concern for the planet. The concern for the planet is like a post hoc rationalization of why they want to do that. And I mean, yeah, it is like totally irrational, I'd say, because like, you know, who produces the most emissions? It's not the third world. It's overwhelmingly first world countries. Per capita. And also I think, what's the nominally, like just sheer numbers wise. Like it's like I think China is ahead of the United States now, and then the United States is second.
Yeah.
But also, like again, a lot of those emissions are probably to produce stuff that we buy.
Yeah, we outsource the emissions to third world countries, so that increases their emissions.
Yeah. Yeah, of course, like the trash is a problem, but I mean, let's rewind to Victorian England and look in their rivers and their street corners, and let's drop the Google Maps guy in there and see what those Anglos, how good they were taking care of their environment. So, yeah, it's illogical, I think. I think hot take, eco-fascism is not premised. You know, it's not logically sound.
Yeah, it's downstream from the fascism.
Yeah.
The eco's an afterthought.
Yeah, but it's what will happen if we don't change course, because eco-fascism is not going to challenge capital. It's not going to challenge the concentration of wealth and power that capitalism and market logic demands.
I saw a chart and it was like all the ways you could reduce carbon footprint. It's like, you know, take less flights and eat vegan. But then like by far the best thing you can do to reduce your country's carbon footprint is not let a refugee family in. Like that's just like leaps and bounds above everything else.
Why?
It's like because you get the refugee family in, you raise their standard of living, you take care of them, and then they use as much as a Westerner basically.
Yeah. Then that's kind of a counterpoint to like third world being the source of pollution.
Yeah, because as soon as as soon as all those people get like rise to the same standard of living, you want all these Indians mining Bitcoin, it's over.
Whoa. I mean, we gotta have Bitcoin. Where would we be without Bitcoin? There's so much social utility.
It's true. I love Bitcoin.
That's how I buy my CP.
Your computer programs?
No, my cheese pizzas.
Okay.
Yeah.
You know, Max bought a pizza with Cloy. He bought a pizza with Bitcoin like 6 years ago.
Wow. What's that pizza worth now?
It was like a $20,000 pizza.
Oh, nice. That's good to know.
Sweet.
So ecofascism, not the solution.
Ecofascism bad.
It's one solution. It's
one
not
solution.
my preferred solution.
Although we've platformed an eco-fascist, we decided to get the other side by platforming an eco-Stalinist. So
yeah. So my proposition is instead of doing that, we do eco-socialism, which would require reducing inequality drastically. It would require rerouting a lot of America's productive capacity. It would require rewriting the American social contract. And it would require, you know, sort of creating an entirely new culture. But I think that sort of ambitious, bold, transformative national project is required if we want to survive the 21st century and thrive and come out of it with dignity and advance as a species, rather than retreating to this kind of dark age.
Right. We're all fighting each other instead of the things that actually matter.
Yeah, and I think there is still time. There's a way to come together and come out from this crisis stronger.
Right. Yeah, that's one of the interesting things, because you did your presentation here at the studio a couple days ago.
And that'll be up on my YouTube channel, by the way, by
Yeah.
the time this episode comes out.
Yeah, so you can get the full scoop on this plan on Harper's channel.
Yeah.
However,
Harper O'Connor.
Yes.
O'Connor. That's my channel name.
When you said Connor, I was like, is his name Connor? Wait, hold on.
Yeah.
So yeah, you can go to his channel to check it out. But like that was one of my most interesting takeaways from your presentation is basically we're gonna go to war. Like there's gonna be war in our future. We're already at war, obviously, but we're gonna get like the war is only gonna intensify, and we don't have to be at war with other people, but we're gonna be at war, and what we should be at war with is climate change. We should be at war with the existential threat to humanity.
Yeah.
Instead of fighting amongst ourselves for scarce resources, we can be using that human energy and directing it in a way that capital doesn't effectively direct it into right
100%.
now. Yeah. So go on. What's this eco-socialist plan?
The way we do that is through the military. And I know what you're thinking. That sounds wacky, but I mean, you know, I think like we have to think about this kind of dialectically, if I can be such a sued. Like, you know, the traditional organs through which left politics has been advanced seem to be dead ends. Trade unionism is effectively dead in America. Class consciousness is not there. You know, there's certainly not going to be a revolutionary party in America. The chances for like sort of an October revolution and then creating a new society off the back of that is probably pretty low odds of that happening, I'd say. And this sort of like spontaneous, leaderless, demandless sort of non-hierarchical organization that we saw in the Occupy Wall Street movement seems to have gotten us nowhere. BLM is another good example of that. I mean, I hate to say it, but I'm hard pressed to kind of think of any like substantive, deep reform that was gained as a result of the BLM protests.
Anarchists out.
Yeah.
Left libertarians out.
Yeah,
Like fucking Chop and Chaz.
Chop and Chaz.
Yeah.
Chaz.
I mean, like if the statistics are to be believed, that was briefly the country with the highest murder rate in the world. If it was to be considered a sovereign nation.
I believe there's also a case of somebody entering starvation because they couldn't get vegan food.
Yeah. Wow.
That's
Hunger strike.
Didn't Chaz exist for 2 weeks or something?
Something like
That's
that.
a fast.
Yeah.
That's not entering starvation. That's a fast.
That's as fast. There was like like internet, like GoFundMe's like, please, we need vegan food in Chaz.
You can't. They couldn't leave, and well, I guess they're trying to create a parallel society. I mean, okay, I'll say this about like anarchists and stuff. I respect the hustle.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know, it probably would have been fun to hang out there, but you know, there's no amount of fascist you can beat up that will get you towards socialism. There's no amount of like Chazes that will just like organically evolve into like worker democracy. I don't think. You need a plan. You need structure, you need leaders, you need hierarchy, if I may say so.
And what better hierarchy than the U.S. military?
The U.S. military.
So leftists typically aren't big fans of the U.S. military.
No, I'm not a big fan of the U.S. military.
Yeah, and this isn't an ideal thing that you're pitching. In an ideal world, if you could ship in a bottle your ideas, it wouldn't be through the military.
Yeah.
But given the current circumstances we exist in, it's got to be the military because that's the institution that has the most legitimacy right now.
The most legitimacy, the most capacity, and the ability to kind of supersede the Constitution without destroying it, operate across state lines.
A state within a state.
A state within a state. And so, yeah, that's why I say, like, you know, we have to think dialectically about this because, yeah, if I could just impose my will on the world, if I could just put ideas out there and kind of win over hearts and minds until I got a critical mass, it would be democratic socialism. It wouldn't be, you know, military eco-socialism.
Right. So like, you know, ideologically and ideally, you're a democratic socialist, but in the real world, you're an eco-Stalinist. So I'm glad we've locked that in. Okay, Catholic eco-Stalinist, and you're Catholic.
Yep.
And you're a Catholic. So Catholic eco-Stalinist.
Yeah.
Pitches us
There's
on martial law.
Yeah.
So you're using the military to enact martial law for what?
Yeah, what we need to do is mobilize a large portion of the population to manage the biosphere and rebuild the nation's infrastructure. This is going to require bringing back the draft. All citizens ages 18 to 22, rather than going to college, you'll be doing 4 years of national service. This is not
Ladies
unprecedented, by the
included.
way. Yeah, shotties, you're on the team. Congrats. And what we would have them do is, there's a lot of work that needs to be done. Like we need to be building seawalls. We need to be building, levees and ways of managing floods and waterways. We need to be retooling our power grid and hardening that against climate change. I believe like Texas froze over a couple of years ago, and they weren't prepared for it because Texas is not supposed to freeze in the winter.
Yeah.
And people got out of power, and their pipes were bursting and flooding houses, and it was a really bad deal.
Or that flood just now in fucking West Texas.
In West Texas, yeah. I mean, again, and I'm not going to sit here and say that was climate change, 100%. But what I can say for certain is that climate change is going to make floods worse, and it's going to make them more frequent and more severe. So this is going to require a lot of manpower and woman power to do this. So, we're going to need to not just manage the biosphere. Also, this is ambitious. This is sort of like where the like Promethean impulse comes in, and why I'm not a degrowther. We need to create synthetic biology. We need to come up with new species to refill biological niches that have been depleted and counteract the ecosystem collapse that
We
we're
need to
seeing.
terraform Earth.
Yes, we do. And we need to preserve species that are in danger of being extinct first and foremost, of course, because that's the easiest part. But we need to bring back extinct species and probably create some new ones. And this is all going to require a lot of testing and a lot of management and a lot of people. And at the same time, we also need to rebuild our national infrastructure. We need to build affordable housing. We need to retool our cities to make them more walkable and more eco-friendly and more human. Because when you build a city for cars and you build a city for commercial activity, it becomes very soulless. But creating a new political economy that is not dependent on like the whims of capitalist accumulation will open the aperture of possibility and allow us to rethink the way that we live. And that to me is the most exciting part of this. It's not just like thinking of people as economic widgets to be manipulated by some central planner. It's thinking of this as a profoundly human enterprise where people can reach their highest potential. In short, putting the incels to work, and then hopefully they will no longer be incels.
So clarify then, because when you say the draft, you don't mean like a military draft to like go to war or like bolster the armed forces. It's a new part. It's a new corps.
This is a new branch of the military I'm imagining called the Civilian Climate Corps. Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's a precedent for this that I mentioned in the presentation called the Civilian Conservation Corps. During the Great Depression, they just it was managed by the military, but it was a civilian enterprise, as the name suggests. And they sent out a bunch of young men to rural areas to sort of like build roads and manage natural areas, and it kind of instilled an ecological consciousness in them, but it also gave them pride, and, a national spirit. It gave them work, and it gave them community. Like I was very struck by just this image, a simple picture of them all eating dinner at these long tables. We talk a lot about community here, and I was moved by that because you can kind of imagine the sort of conversations and the friendships and like the lifelong connections that would form in an environment like that.
Yeah.
Many of my closest friendships were formed through kind of going through hardship together, going through an experience like that. I was also a Boy Scout as a kid, if people can't tell just by listening to this.
I was too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was also
I didn't know they
Scout.
had that in Canada.
Yeah, we had Cubs and Scouts, and it was fun. It was great.
Yeah.
But that's definitely like what, obviously the climate change stuff sells me. But you also touched on this briefly in your presentation of like the meaning crisis. and you specifically said the lack of milestones we now have in our life. Like, and a lot of you know Byung-Chul Han. You ever heard of this author? He has a whole book about this. He's like a critical theory philosophy guy about like now that we don't have traditions, we don't have ceremonies baked into our culture. It's sort of just like you are 16 until you die.
Yeah.
Like you don't come of age anymore. And that's such a huge issue because like you do see this crisis of like perpetual immaturity and perpetual adolescence, especially in a city like Toronto, where it's like everyone is sort of acting the same because you're like your goal is to like, cool, you get a job, you make money, and like you're not gonna have kids, you're not gonna buy a house, you never become a man. You never go into this provider role. You never take on responsibility. It's just like accumulate a savings account and like go out on the weekends.
Yeah, yeah. And the college experience is not something that makes you into a man.
No,
you don't exit it as a man.
No, you don't.
And this 18 to 22 ripe age to that's the ritual. You come out of it and you're a full adult and you've done something to be proud of. That's a rite of passage. It's a ritual that we lack. We don't have anything like that.
Well, there's something like that, and it's much maligned in the media, which is fraternities.
Yes.
And for like hazing. And I'm going to have a somewhat controversial take here and say that I'm tentatively pro hazing. And obviously there's a million different ways that it can go wrong. But I guess I'm not pro hazing. I see why that manifests itself.
You were in a frat, right?
Yeah.
You got hazed?
A little bit.
How'd they haze you?
What?
How did they haze you?
Just a lot of like drinking games.
Okay.
Mine was very mild, which I respect.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just about getting to know the other people, other pledges, rather than just like, because I've heard some of it that was some other like of my friends that went to different schools, and it was some of the stuff they had to do was quite demeaning and just like stuff that I wouldn't wish on anybody.
Have sex with a pig corpse?
Get a train ran on you?
Just
get ass raped by 10 men?
Yeah, nothing like that. But, you know, just gross stuff. And like even the stuff I did was not like whatever. I think it's silly. But again, I understand that it's kind of this like vestigial organ. It's almost a little bit sad to kind of like to see this because they're grasping for something real, which is like to be initiated into a brotherhood. And it's not that. It's a drinking club, really, in practice.
Yeah.
But theoretically, I can see why that's appealing to young men. And I think that we ignore that urge at our own peril. Again, like the whole idea of the Civilian Climate Corps is like channeling these energies into productive channels, right? So like, you know, a rite of passage in a way that's productive, a militarism in a way that's productive. You know, our best and brightest minds are making apps. They're trading, they're moving money around on Wall Street.
They're flipping
Bitcoin.
NFTs.
Yeah. Useless activity that adds nothing to society. It's like, but the problem is these guys are genuinely smart and driven. And I would love to put them at the helm of something real, you know? But there's no outlet for that.
Yeah, all of the incentive structures for our best and brightest are to move money around.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah. In the
make
post-war
an app
era,
that automates away jobs or something.
Yeah, to turn people into app slaves.
Like,
turn good jobs into app slave jobs. We need to redirect.
And there's no reason for us as a generation to feel as listless as we do, as purposeless as we do, as without ritual as we do, because there's more things than ever, actually, that we need human labor for.
Yes.
We need human labor, but we need human labor directed in a way that isn't directly...
That capital is not capable of directing.
That capital is not capable of directing, exactly.
Yeah. So yeah, I just think there's a lot of young people out there who could benefit from this kind of thing. There's a lot of young people out there who are rudderless. And like, you know, I mean, I think one of the things that annoys me that leftists do is like, okay, so like Jordan Peterson is one of the only people on the right that I somewhat have respect for because he's at least speaking to things that are real. And he's speaking to this lack of meaning that is absolutely real.
Yeah.
and absolutely needs to be addressed. But his kind of way of addressing it is essentially like through self-improvement. And self-improvement's good as far as it goes, but it's a necessary but not insufficient component of social rejuvenation, of national rejuvenation, of creating a society that is healthy and vigorous and believes in itself once again. You can't do that by just having 300 million economic automatons who are like optimized, you know, because that's the end state of like the self-improvement red pill mentality is you are just a beautiful oiled cog in a machine. But if you're a cog in a machine that is not serving humanity, then you're always going to have a hole in your heart because you're not directed towards the good. You're directed towards the money. You're directed towards that cash, man. And that'll never make you happy. It'll make you feel better than you would if you were like a loser, I guess. But like it will never give you spiritual fulfillment.
Yeah, and that's why everyone feels so disconnected and alienated from whatever it is they're doing, whether they're part of like a huge corporation that they don't really buy the end goal of whatever it is they're doing, or they just don't see the value in what they're doing. Yeah. But if you were going out and you were like creating infrastructure for a climate event, that climate event happens and the house doesn't get destroyed because of you, or people have water because of you, or people, you know, can survive a fire because of you, like, you know, these are all things that are just like very obviously meaningful and valuable to other human beings. Yeah.
I really want, like, if anybody's a digital artist, reach out to me. I have a piece that I would like you to create. And it's an image of some sort of like dam or seawall. And there's big like Art Deco reliefs on the seawall. But then on the bottom, there's a bunch of handprints in the concrete from all the workers who did that. That's kind of like the most primal form of art you can imagine, right? It's just like hands on a wall, like I was here. We built that. Imagine this is a national pride.
You should AI generate it and all the handprints have like 7 fingers.
The sea level rose 0.1 inches because of
it's nice to
because of the AI.
It's nice to hear because so many. I mean, my biggest gripe, like, because we can go into this because I saw you mention this in the questions thing of like I used to be more right wing because the left never had an answer to me for like what is good about life, like what is good about responsibility, what meta narratives are good. Like I fundamentally believe that like Western culture is the best, that we need meta narratives, we need meaning in our lives, we need like not necessarily we don't need like religion per se in the sense that it's existed, but we need like a religious like structure. Yeah. And so many fucking leftists are just axiomatically opposed to anything like that. And it's very frustrating because I'm like, how, like, there's no answer to the meaning crisis besides like believing in something beyond yourself.
Yeah.
Right. Patriotism is good. Civic nationalism. These are good forces that like don't have to be utilized for like, I don't know, some sort of fascist end goal.
Yeah, because the idea is that any kind of meta narrative or any sort of like overriding structure that tells you what's good or bad or like what life is or what your life should be oriented towards is inherently regressive because we're supposed to liberate ourselves from that. And it's liberatory to create your own meaning. And I think that's more liberal bullshit, if I'm being honest. And it's funny that like people who are ostensibly leftists, who even like are socialists, who kind of are supposed to have a like collectivist mindset, espouse that. I don't know how I feel about collectivism. I believe in the individual, but I also think like we have to have society. Yeah. And a society, part of that is having a mythology about what your project is and what it means to be part of Western civilization or of America or whatever.
Just one belief.
One thing that unites us. And as far as the rest of it goes, but there's room for pluralism. Yeah. But yeah, and I think that this project provides a meta narrative that is profoundly modern. Because the only proposed solution that I've really seen, again, from like the Petersons of the world, is a retreat to the religious, the pre-modern religious kind of fundamentalism, and then on the left is sort of like modernist, like postmodern kind of like existentialist, like well, you figure it out, you know?
Yeah.
Like if a leftist were to kind of address this, they'd tear down the like pre-modern structure that a right-winger would espouse, and then at the end there'd be a 5-minute segment maybe where they'd say like, okay, so what now? What fills the void? And it's like, well, you know, this is what they do about like dating advice too. They'll tell you why the red pill stuff is wacky, and it is wacky, but then it's like, okay, so what do I do? And it's like, just be normal, man. Like, just be yourself.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, well, people actually, turns out, want a bit more guidance than that.
Yeah. And the issue with the return stuff as well is that
Return to tradition.
Back
to modernity.
Those traditions emerged out of like a culture that had believed, like, it's the way return people talk about God is that like you can just choose to believe in God even though you haven't before because it's like pragmatic.
Yes.
Right? Where it's like the return, the traditions they're talking about are merged from a society that like fundamentally believed in God.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can't just be like wake up one day and be like, oh, you know what? Now I'm like a trad cath because it's pragmatic for me to be a trad
logically
cath.
decided to be a trad cath.
Yeah, it's not how that works. You have to have like thousands of years of being a trad cath to back that up. So like you can't return. We can't return to a world that like that that fucking doesn't eat fish on Sundays.
Yeah.
Or sorry, only eats fish on Sundays or something like that, right?
Like the social infrastructure doesn't exist for it either, because there has to be like a societal, scaffolding on within which you exist. Like it's kind of impossible to be that level of religiosity in a vacuum.
Yeah.
Like it's impossible to be a Christian in a sense because there's no Christendom. Like, I don't think it's impossible. It's impossible to be a Christian in the same way that it was in the Middle Ages, I should say. And that might be a good thing. You know, I think it's possible to evolve.
Yeah.
And there's a way forward that is exciting and life affirming and also like reconstructs a meta narrative that we can believe in.
How, like, because this is all very, I don't want to say it's not abstract, like it's very rooted in reality, but as far as praxis goes, as far as like getting people, like what is step one of initiating the process that would eventually create, because like the idea, like you say draft, like there's a lot of like bad words there where it's like, oh, we need a draft for a like compulsory some sort of like labor thing that all young adults have to do now, which isn't unprecedented. And what you said, like there's like 60 countries that have a draft.
Yeah.
So like tons of first world, like Korea, Japan, I think has one, Switzerland, Israel, all have a draft.
Israel.
Yeah, right?
Israel.
They all do. I mean, Israel.
There's a lot of pages we could take out of Israel's book.
There is a lot of like, fuck, what's Israel's birth rate? Like fucking 4? It's a first world country with a birth rate of 4 children to one woman. Like that's fucking insane.
Yeah.
There's no other country like that because they have a meta narrative. They have an overarching belief. It's destructive.
Yeah.
But you cannot tell me that Israel doesn't have a lot, like as a country doesn't have meaning.
Yeah.
Right? They have internal myths that like fucking very clearly drive them and they function quite well because of it. There's a lot of pages we could take out of Israel's book.
I'm mostly thinking about the killing the brown people part.
Oh, so yeah, I forgot about that.
Yeah, at the border, braca, you know.
Well, regardless, so what's your step one? What's your how do you open the door?
Yeah, this is the part where I need to think more, where I'm falter, because I'm reticent to like advise my followers to join the military.
Yeah.
You know, I don't think that the military currently is a force for good in the world.
Entryism into the military.
Yeah, like the entryism angle may not be the move. I guess one thing that I'll say is like, one of the examples I gave in the presentation was the military being called in to deal with Hurricane Katrina because civilian forces were faltering. Yeah. And, you know, for better or for worse, I think just from like a materialist perspective, like if we analyze the situation as like, okay, how are the mechanics of things moving forward going to influence the way that things develop? That's the reason why I'm bullish on the military, is because as the situation progresses and as civilian forces, the civilian government continues to lose legitimacy and capacity, they're going to be forced to rely on the military more and more as a consequence of that. But yeah, what structure the military takes is going to be very dependent on the ideas of the sort of the ideas that the people who are interacting with this institution have in their heads, and the sort of the political imaginary that they're engaging with, and the way that they're thinking about what role their institution could serve. So yeah, admittedly, the how we get there part is still murky to me. I'm very convinced that the building blocks are there, but in order to put that together is going to require politics.
Yeah.
Politics is an intervention into history, right? And in the presentation, I talked about how there's two types of future. There's like the future that is like a continuation of the present, like the full actualization of the trends that are already present. And then there's the radical break. Futur and avenir.
In French.
It's French, unfortunately. But it's a good
With apologies
paradigm.
to J.J. McCullough.
Yeah.
Futur means the actual like the future.
Mhm.
And then avenir.
the rails, right? Like the
Right.
go along the rail.
Like the
long
path
enough.
the path
Yeah,
that
the
we're
path,
on.
Walk the path.
And
yeah.
avenir is like an alternative path.
Yeah, it's the radical break. It's what makes the future. Like, because the future is by definition, like, like the things that we can't predict, the things that we can't predict.
So, so the way that you see
priori.
things progressing is towards an eco-fascism where we're gunning down migrants at the border,
Yep.
and we're using our military to fight other nations instead
Yeah.
of climate change.
Yeah.
And that the inequality between people is going to increase such
Yeah.
to the point where we're not on the same page as a nation anymore.
Mhm.
There's going to be pockets and groups creating gated cities,
Yeah.
hiring people to gun down poor people as
Right.
that wealth disparity increases.
I mean, we're close to.
We're there.
We're there.
Yeah.
Look at
they-
fucking Miami, dude.
Yeah.
Miami, the Bay Area, New York.
These also like African countries where the inequality is really steep. All the rich Africans go and they go to an island,
Yeah.
and then the people left behind just kind of live in squalor and
I think
die.
it's Namibia.
Namibia, yeah.
You know what I mean? Like there's a gated community in Namibia that has like the GDP of just this gated community, and the property price is the highest in Africa. The GDP
Yeah.
is like 80,000 a year.
Yeah.
Jeez.
I mean, South Africa is like that as well. South
Yeah.
Africa is fully like, there'll be train tracks. On the other side of the train tracks, it's like destitute slums.
Yeah.
And then on the other side, it's like a fucking American
and you
suburb.
sort of need to make
Yeah.
it that we're all on the same page and we all sink or die together. Like we all sink
Right.
or float together.
Right. To a certain extent, I'm very pro the idea that like if you work hard in life, you should be rewarded.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There should be some extent of that, but not to the level that we have now.
Mhm.
Like certainly.
Because what constitutes, again, it's like why meritocracy in a vacuum is a great idea. But like, what is merit in a contemporary society, right? It's like the person who works hard, who gets rewarded now, is the person who figures out the fucking product from a Chinese factory that hasn't been drop shipped yet.
Yeah.
And then drop ships it and makes $1 million, right?
Yeah.
It's not the person who works hard.
Right.
It's not the nurse working 80 hours a week.
Yeah, I want to see a nation of soldiers led by scientists, not a nation of consumers led by lawyers.
Mm.
And I think that within that framework, working hard would mean something, and
Yeah.
we could be pro hard work. I
Yeah,
want to
what
be
the
pro
fuck?
hard work so bad.
What are men like? A man goes on TRT, gets big muscles, sits in front of his computer all day, drop ships.
Yes.
What a fucked up society we live
Yeah,
in.
seriously.
You should have a purpose for those muscles. You should be carrying huge pipes.
Yeah.
You should be using your
You're having
muscles
a
to
steel
like
beam.
slash ground, build
Yeah.
infrastructure. It's not like we're like inventing work.
Yeah.
It's not like we're doing Jewish daycare, as some would say. We need actual things to be done now, 20 years ago. But
Yes.
now's a good time too.
Here's a little message for the men. A little message for the men. You get your 6'1", you have money, you're jacked, and you wonder why women don't like you. Cause you're fucking gay.
You're gay and useless.
Cause all you do is groom yourself all day and sit on the fucking
It's-
computer.
It's homosexual behavior, no offense. But it is.
You could be a fat fucking slob and a woman sees you carry a beam. You know how many I grew up in fucking Toronto,
Women
Nova
love it
Scotia.
when they see you carrying a beam.
You know how many fucking disgusting roofers I know who their wives are fucking dime pieces, who they have 3 kids, and they're these fat bald guys because they do work. They do
Yeah.
labor. They're men.
Firefighters pull.
Firefighters do
There's
pull.
research on that.
Firefighter is one of the hottest professions.
It
Yeah.
probably is objectively the hottest profession.
Yeah.
All you do is work.
Yeah.
You're a man. You're
You
doing
save
stuff.
people. You save people's lives.
Yeah.
You
I-
risk your life to save others.
I'm a fucking post-left edgy video essayist. I think every day about leaving this all behind and just becoming a firefighter.
Yeah.
That thought crosses my mind once a day. I'm like, why am I hate Toronto. Why am I doing this?
You could be a firefighter.
And then I look at my friends and I realize that I love my community.
Yeah. Dark woke.
Dark woke.
And hey, do you want to? This is something you said in your presentation. You want to meet your wife on Tinder,
Yeah.
or you want to meet her in the fields, doing
Yeah.
meaningful work, saving humanity.
Right.
Mm.
Yeah, imagine you're in the hills of Wyoming. You're testing a new strain of drought-resistant pine. You sneak out after dark. You climb the hill and you look up at the stars. Beautiful. You look over. Beautiful way to meet somebody. Beautiful way to be in a relationship. Or imagine you're in Southern California. There's a wildfire raging. It's about to reach the town. You work all day, you know what I mean, and you're like you're preparing the fire lines, you're working the hoses, maybe you're flying those big jets that drop water kind of chemicals to like stop the flow, you're operating heavy machinery, and then the fire dies down and you take off your helmets, everybody's like flushed, but there's just this sense of pride. You look over and you're heroes. We don't live in a heroic age.
No,
But we could.
we should.
As you said, there's so much work to be done.
Mhm.
But there's no institution that can channel this, right? And that's like it's so how natural would it be to form lifelong friendships, to form brotherhood, to form romantic connection in a situation such as that? It's like that's what humans are. It's what humans are meant to do.
Mm. Do you really think that these wildfires would be raging for weeks and weeks, trillions or whatever of acres burning to the ground,
Mhm.
if we as humanity were at war
Yeah.
with climate change? If we had an army, if the full force of the U.S. military was
Yeah.
behind taking water, dropping it, planning, making sure that like the burn is controlled, do you think that would like completely be as destructive as it is now?
Yeah.
No, we'd be prepared for it, and we
Yeah.
have to be prepared for it because it's only going to get worse, and it is getting worse.
Yeah. Be based. That's my pitch to right wing guys. It'd be based.
Also, right wing guys, do you like having endocrine disrupting chemicals in your fucking water? Do
Yeah.
you like every molecule of water having microplastic in it? Do you enjoy
Yeah.
that? Do you like your testosterone falling? Do you like having no third places or meaningful community? And do you
Yeah.
like the military?
You do like
Come
the
on.
military.
It's a no-brainer.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. You want to escape modernity? I got a plan for you. I got a mission for you. I got a place for you. And yeah, you're not gonna escape it by being a drop shipper. You're not even gonna escape it by going the Kaczynski route and getting like a cabin in the woods. That's cope.
Yeah.
And it's cope. You're not gonna get your trad wife and escape to the woods. I mean, or if you do, like, you probably wouldn't even really like that life very much because you'd be isolated.
Yeah, and at this rate, you got like an average of 3 years before it burns to the fucking ground.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, how much more of that forest is left? So that'll be another task that we could get on as a desoyification of the like endocrine environment. Because they're putting chemicals in the water that are turning the frickin' frogs gay. It's not even. I mean, they're turning them. They're doing something with the gender, I think, right? Because frogs, I don't know. I don't really remember the science to it. But
Women take birth control. They piss it out. It goes into the water stream.
Yeah.
And then frogs have translucent transdermal skin.
Yeah, that's how they
Oh,
breathe.
okay.
They breathe through their skin. So the chemicals go right into the frog's body, and it basically turns them to women.
It was
Yeah,
gamer
that
girl piss the
influences
whole
the-
time.
It was gamer
Yeah.
girl piss.
That's
the
so
whole time.
fucked up. Gamer girl piss makes you gay.
Yeah. Another evil of birth control. Just kidding.
yeah,
You're not just kidding.
Yeah, that's why I gave a little look to the camera.
yeah.
We can all agree birth control's bad. At least there's one thing we can all agree on
And
here.
if there's one non-controversial opinion that can come out of this,
Yeah. I'm fucking. I don't know, man. You've sold me. I'm blurry on the details. Of course,
I need to think more about how we get there.
I mean, my only thing, I guess, is two things. One, it's too late to do anything about climate change. I don't think we're going to reverse it.
Don't listen to him.
I think that that if we stopped all of our carbon right now, the runaway cyclical feedback loops would continue.
Just cut this guy
However, there is a desperate need actually for adaptation to climate change.
Yeah.
And that is actually where our minds should be going. Because anyone telling you to recycle more or whatever,
it's cope.
It's cope. Like there's like and no one wants to have this conversation anymore. No one wants to take personal responsibility for this global tragedy. So, okay, what if we can like throw away the fucking copes for like 1 second and look at reality as it is? What is to be done? And what is to be done is let's hunker down and let's prepare, let's adapt. That's our only option left.
Yeah, and like that's kind of I totally agree. I think if we're look at reality, shorn of copes, it's gonna be eco-socialism or eco-fascism. And I think eco-socialism could not only be like materially good, we would not only survive, but we would create a thriving culture because of it.
Tomorrow, Elon Musk's going to invent carbon capture, and it's gonna be like one big thing. It's gonna go, and it sucks all the carbon in, and he's gonna do like an interview. And he's like, "Yeah, this was just to spite Greg," and he's gonna fuck
that would
you,
be very
Greg.
Disappointing, wouldn't it?
Fuck you, J-Reg. Elon Musk's gonna do that.
Yeah.
And we'll be like,
no,
my climate doom.
Yeah. I wanted to draft a bunch of blue-haired SJWs into the military and make them do push-ups, but now I'm not allowed to.
Yeah. But and then my second thing is I do think we should gun down some immigrants.
Oh, I don't know if I can
just
get behind that.
I don't know, just a few.
Oh, here's my other proposal. Instead of doing that, we rethink our conception of citizenship. We get rid of birthright citizenship. Instead, you become service guarantees citizenship.
That sounds great. And also very Starship Troopers.
Starship Trooper.
And, a lot of people can get behind the Starship Trooper idea.
Yeah.
However, what do we do about the immigrants that don't want to do that? They just want to come here illegally. Because, we're saying, okay, we want to do it properly. You need citizenship. You got to go through these 4 years. I think that's a great idea. I'd be very happy for anyone from anyone anywhere around the world to immigrate to the West, do the 4 years of service, and then have a vote like everyone else.
Become a citizen.
Yeah.
What
about the rest?
I mean, if you come here illegally, you can't come in. You
can't come in.
You can't come in.
Okay.
Yeah. Sorry. Because I mean, if you don't want to work.
Okay, so we should shoot them out of a cannon, basically, back to there.
Yeah, shoot them out of a cannon and make sure they have a soft landing back wherever they came from.
Okay.
Because at that point, because right-wingers always say, if you want to come here, I got no problem with it. You just got to come the right way.
Yeah.
And a lot of times they're just racist and that's a cover. But a lot of times they do actually mean it. The problem is you got to go through this Rube Goldberg machine?
Yeah.
And you're a Syrian refugee.
Yeah.
And you're getting bombed.
That's
and you're
insane.
filling out a form being what was George Washington's birthday?
Yeah.
But if we do.
And wait 12 years.
Yeah, wait 12 years and go through a lottery. It's literally.
It's insane. The bureaucracy is ridiculous.
It's loony.
Even as a Canadian, the bureaucracy is ridiculous. That's why there's so many. I know so many Canadians that would love to immigrate to the States, and it's just such a bitch.
It's and you're white,
and I'm white.
Yeah,
passing.
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah. But if we go the eco-socialist route, then there is actually a path for anybody who wants to become a citizen through service. And at that point, I wouldn't have any sympathy for somebody who wants to come illegally because there is really a way for you to do this in a way that's so humanizing.
So again, and right wingers joining the core, we'll give you 2 immigrants to kill a year, and that'll satisfy your bloodlust.
No, we're not killing any immigrants. If anything, we're going to do a global competitor to the Belt and Road Initiative, where we send our men and women in uniform down south to build infrastructure instead of bombing them. So that because really here's the thing that I think people don't understand about immigration, because they assume America is such a great nation, everybody must want to come here. We're the greatest country in the world, so all these people are clamoring to come to America because it's just so awesome to be here. It's most immigrants would love nothing more than to be able to stay in their home country.
Yeah.
That's why they are still have a lot of pride for the nations they come from, because a lot of times it's like they're either forced to leave literally because of war or, you know, violence, or leaving makes the most sense economically, and they want to be able to provide for their families and give their family a good life. But, you know, if South America was at least stable, if not rich, a lot of them would probably choose to stay where they're at.
Yeah, of course.
And that's why so many climate refugees will be created, because they will literally no longer be able to live in the place that they're living.
Yeah.
So if you want to stop a bunch like quote unquote mass immigration, the best way to do that is to make sure that the places these people are coming from are livable. And the first step to that is stopping, just stop messing with them, you know, stop doing imperialism. And then if you want to ramp it up, we could actively intervene in a positive way.
Yeah.
It's like, you know, the good kind of imperialism. I don't know.
Imagine Canadians, every Indian Uber Eats driver, they wouldn't be Uber Eats drivers anymore. They would have jobs in houses. Imagine every Punjab guy you see fought for your country for 4 years. And just on the basis of them being there, you look them in the eye and you think, fuck.
Yeah. This is an equal.
This is an equal. Fucking so-and-so Patel, the sick man, fought for my country. What have I done? I didn't fight for, I drop shipped. Well, this guy fought for my country.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Instead, he made his fortune with scam calls and then moved to Canada to middleman diploma mills.
That's where we're at right now. True.
Very, very Nietzschean life path.
Okay, so we gotta move on here.
We can.
But the how did you get here? How did you get to this
Like to Canada?
eco-Stalinist position? No, we'll get to that later.
On a plane.
But
sorry.
You contributed to climate change. You've got a very like red pill frame in the sense of like you like aesthetically. Like you grew up. You know, the way you make your money is you have like this like school style thing, and I associate that with like Hamza. You grew up watching these red pill guys, right? And like right wing people. You were a chudlet.
Well, I mean, I grew up in Kansas, so I didn't grow up watching anybody. I didn't have TV or phone or anything like that.
Interesting. Kansas doesn't have electricity.
No, not yet. That's one of the tasks of the Civilian Climate Corps, is finally delivering civilization to the people of KKK Kansas.
KKK Kansas.
Actually, it's the exact opposite. Inspired by Kansas history, but we can get into that later, maybe. Yeah, I mean, I guess I grew up conservative in a conservative Catholic household, and then got on the internet and just found liberals annoying, and then so that kind of sent me down the Ben Shapiro path, and then eventually I found out that there's like a non-annoying way to be a leftist, and pretty much hopped on that. I mean, yeah, one of the transformative moments in my political journey was visiting Guatemala and seeing just like the abject poverty, like the total desperate poverty in a way that I'd never seen before. And it's essentially the entire country that is in this state. And I didn't put the pieces together at the time, but later I learned about how, you know, that was not an accident. Guatemala was in a sense made to be the way that it is because of U.S. imperialism. They had a progressive nationalist movement in the 50s, but it was seen to be too close to socialist by the Central Intelligence Agency, and so they were bombed. And there was a military coup, and then there was a whole series of military dictators after that, and a genocide against the native population, because we had to make the world safe for United Fruit Company. We had to make sure that United States fruit corporations could operate with impunity in Guatemala. All this evil for bananas.
Damn.
And that continues today. And if you think that all
poison ourselves with carbohydrates.
Yeah, if you think that that stuff is over, you should look into the way that the IMF and the World Bank kind of operate within these countries, and the way that, you know, AFRICOM exerts control over that continent, and so it's really like it hasn't changed. It's just changed forms. And so once I saw what capitalism was like outside of the cocoon of the imperial core, so to speak, it kind of it added an urgency to this kind of thing.
When communists refer to the West as the imperial core, it just makes it sound awesome.
Yeah,
I'm like,
it is
yeah,
kind
I'm
of
in
a
the imperial core.
badass term.
Yeah.
But
yeah, so
Yeah.
very motorcycle diary of you. You know,
Sorta,
you
yeah.
go to South America, you see the devastation, you become a communist.
and also like Che Guevara was present for the Guatemalan coup that I mentioned.
Mm.
It was one of the reasons that he was convinced that like imperialists are not going to let you have it, so to speak. I mean, because a lot of third world nations, whatever, imperial periphery, whatever we want to call it, nations naively thought that they could appeal to the United States' like revolutionary ethos of like casting off imperial rule, which, you know, in a better world maybe they could have, but that's not how it panned out, because we have to make the world safe for fruit
Chiquita
companies.
banana.
And now, yeah, for like third world, like gig economy.
We need them to
people.
destroy the rainforests so they can plant monocultures. We
Yeah.
need that.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. It's ludicrous, and we don't even get anything good out of the imperialism either. They don't even build big old statues anymore. It's all
true.
just
our architecture is pretty lame these
Yeah.
days.
Yeah, it's fucked up that billionaires used to like build wings of hospitals and then it would be named after them in perpetuity for the rest of the time. Elon Musk is worth $400 billion. Where's the Elon Musk pediatric wing of the Mayo Clinic? You know, just something.
nothing.
Made of something
Well, he
for
made
this fucking guy.
He made a really evil looking cafe with robots.
Oh,
that
I
serve
forgot.
you.
Yes, the Tesla cafe.
Yeah.
Where's
taste.
where's the Jeff Bezos Institute for Neuroscience?
Yeah.
Where's that? He bought Venice for a day to fucking marry some whore, to marry some plastic bitch.
Hey, Bill Gates has done a lot of good. He
It's true.
he bought up all the farmland.
Oh yeah, he built some wells in Africa that stopped working.
And he might put some shit in the sky to blot out the sun.
Let's go.
He was on Epstein's island.
Yeah.
So chuds are gonna hear your plan, by the way, for eco-socialism, and they all think that climate change is fake and it's a plot to take away people's freedoms, which is exactly what you're proposing.
What is
I don't want to take
freedom?
away your freedom. What is freedom? Do you feel free? I guess is what I would ask you. So,
Okay,
yeah.
that's what you want to hear when someone is going to take away your freedoms. They're like, well, what does freedom even mean?
But really, freedom is not. Freedom can never exist in the abstract. Freedom is exercised, and I mean, to me, literally, like recreating, like facilitating a rebirth of the nation is that's freedom. That's power. That's exercising your will, I suppose. And it's a way of it's a way of like exerting your freedom in the world in a way that's not this kind of like hypothetical freedom of liberalism. It's true freedom.
Why don't you drop in the comments below how you exercise your freedom? Is it gooning?
What's your favorite way to exercise your
Is it
freedom?
gooning or is it
Horseshoe Theorist?
cryptocurrency?
Let us know
Is it
in the
crypto?
comments
Is it
below.
gaming? The new game came out.
Yeah.
Is it gaming?
Yeah. Is it drop shipping, hustling, gooning?
So free.
Yeah.
Okay,
Is it voting? Liberals love to vote.
the tanky question: how should leftists think about actually existing socialist projects? This is like related to what we were just talking about with the rampant exploitation of the third world in South America.
Yeah, so I guess like what's the alternative to that? And the alternative that we saw happen in the real world was primarily like Marxist Leninist regimes taking power. I guess I'm sympathetic to the achievements that actually existing socialist states were able to achieve. Like, you know, turning Eastern Europe into an industrial powerhouse within a generation is objectively a very impressive achievement. And that the strides that a lot of these places made in terms of literacy, in terms of women's rights, in terms of infrastructure, in terms of healthcare. I mean, Cuba today has a higher life expectancy and a lower infant mortality rate than the United States does, than my country does. And it's while being under one of the most intense embargoes in history. So I think that's kind of, we don't want to throw the baby out with the bathwater. That being said, I think there's a lot of people would like to uncritically praise these projects because they work. They're like, they want them to have worked, right? They want them to, because they existed.
Mhm.
And so the impulse to point to something that actually existed and say, I like that. It feels better in a certain sense to say than saying like, well, no, that's not real socialism, and I want to do a version of socialism that's never been tried and only 21 people know about, like my little ship in the bottle.
Yeah.
I think so I guess my position I stake out in between, on one hand, sort of like the rad libs, the radical liberals, who are uncomfortable with any and all existing socialist experiments and who want to condemn them as kind of like not real socialism. I think that many of the people who were like engaged in these projects saw themselves as building socialism. And I think that when they tried to do that, they, just objectively speaking, were able to achieve a lot. But there were also undeniably a lot of atrocities that came with that. And we should not shy away from that.
Yeah.
And we shouldn't explain it away as like, well, they had to do it because of material conditions or whatever. Yes, a lot of these experiments were objectively in a tough spot, and in many junctures there were no good options. And furthermore, I guess I would say like we can kind of conceive of this in terms of like natural selection. When you're under such intense pressure from the West and from capitalist forces, what kind of society is that selecting for, right? What sort of socialist societies are going to be able to survive that pressure? Not free, open, and democratic ones.
Yeah.
We saw that with Salvador Allende in Chile. They're just going to coup you. They're going to kill you. So what survives? Like, which regimes are able to survive that? Regimes that are very good at centralizing power, that are good at rooting out dissent, and that are able to kind of have a cohesive line that is not to be deviated from. Again, not to excuse any of the excesses or anything that they did, because in many cases I think that the repression was not even warranted. Like, you can't even make an excuse for it. And many of them can be attributable to the structure of the regimes that produced them.
Yeah.
So it's not an aberration. It is a consequence of the way that these regimes were set up. And I think that we need to be honest in our analysis and clear-sighted about this as leftists, that on the one hand, we have to talk about socialism that actually exists, and we have to engage with the real world. But on the other hand, we can't make excuses.
I think what's important too about your perspective here is you're not necessarily like a staunch anti-capitalist. Like when you're talking about the military as a socialistic force, it's like in tandem to the way things are already run, right?
Yes, I talked about it as dual power.
Yeah.
Because really, I don't think we need like a centrally planned economy for like jeans and radios and like TVs.
Yeah, and it doesn't there's the information problem, right? There's one of my like fucking favorite facts out of the Soviet Union was that they nationally ran out of roofing nails because nail quotas were filled by weight. So the factories only made railroad spikes because you could make the most and fill the weight quota. So there was all these unthatched barns and roofs all over the Soviet Union because they had no roofing nails.
And there's no incentive to, like, the thing that's elegant about markets is that somebody doing that in a market scenario would come into conflict with reality very soon.
Yeah.
Because supply and demand would equalize and they would just be out of business. I think that perhaps we could introduce mechanisms like that, like self-correcting kind of like evolutionary mechanisms within a socialist economy, or even within like a planned economy. And I'm also kind of sympathetic to the idea that we could do a lot with supercomputers and artificial intelligence, that we have access to modeling and data that the Soviets certainly didn't have access to.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, I just think that markets work better in some scenarios and central planning works better in some scenarios. Usually like generally like needs versus wants.
Yeah.
For like inelastic demands like healthcare, it might be better to have like a nationalized system.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think we got to keep cooing them.
Just keep bombing them.
Yeah, because like, you know, I wouldn't have cooed them the first few times, but now that we are cooing them, it's like if we
they're used to it. They like it at this point.
It's like how cows like being killed. This is their purpose.
They're like, there's the blood's running.
Yeah.
No, but like, you know, if we stop cooing them now,
they'll get uppity.
They get uppity because then they're gonna be like, okay, now we're like a stable nation. We have a lot of power, and we remember how you cooed us all those times, and now we're gonna nuke you.
That's unironically what Israel thinks about Palestinians. Like we
Yeah.
have to kill them because otherwise they do the same to us.
Yeah.
They must be so mad at us by now. Can you imagine how they'd react if we stopped? Like,
Yeah. So we have to keep going.
Yeah, seriously.
Okay, so we've talked a lot. A lot of your ideas about community.
Yeah.
And like fraternity. We're the first YouTubers you've met. How's this been? How's this been for you? You came to visit our studio. Talk about your experience. What you said you were expecting us to all be normal, but I don't totally believe you. There must have been some part of you that's like, these guys are gonna be weird.
I mean, you are a little bit weird.
Yeah.
I mean, you have a weird bedtime.
I do. I'm here at like 4 a.m. sometimes.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, it's also, I mean, it's weird to see you in 3D, I guess.
Yeah. When I turn my head, it's like
Yeah. Whoa.
depth.
It's a real guy right there.
Wow.
Yeah.
How'd we meet? You
You DM'd me.
I DM'd you.
Yeah.
I saw one of your videos I liked. I DM'd you on Instagram. Yeah. And then I think I invited you by.
Yeah, I think you invited me to the studio as like your first message.
Yeah, I always
And
do
I was
that. I'm
just
like,
like,
if
wow.
you're ever, I always say if you're ever in Toronto, let me know.
Yeah.
If I'm inviting someone, because like people do come to Toronto. Sometimes you're just passing by or you're in the area, and I want people to think, oh, I'm in Toronto. I should come see the studio.
Yeah, I was passing by. I was
Yeah.
doing a backpacking trip in Europe, and then just on my way back to North America,
Yes.
had a layover in Toronto. So I was like, yeah, let's extend it for a week, make it a week long.
Yeah.
But
And what, you've been here for like five days now?
yeah, 6, I think.
Yeah, and you haven't lost your mind yet?
No.
Okay.
Yeah, I enjoyed the 6. I enjoyed Canada. It's a beautiful country.
Yeah.
Can hardly tell it's not America. You guys have done a great job.
Thank you. Yeah. Yeah, and we've got the European influences too. We're a little bit more walkable on average.
True.
Yeah.
Yeah, which I appreciate.
Walkable and neurotic.
Walkable and erotic.
Neurotic.
Oh, okay.
I have my complaints about Canada, but
Yeah.
And have you met cool people?
I've met a lot of cool people through the studio, and it's really like, it's inspiring to see what you guys are doing here. That's very, very admirable. And, at the risk of glazing, I think what you're doing is important for the culture, important for humanity, if I may be so bold. I think it's important for people to have conversations across a wide spectrum and expose themselves to ideas that they may not otherwise. And that's why I truly appreciate this program, because it's like one of the only places that you can get that wide sampling.
that's nice. I'm glad someone finds value in horseshoe theory.
No, totally. Thousands of people do. There's thousands of people on the other side of that screen. Crazy to think about, right?
That is crazy.
And he was saying yesterday we need to get more right wingers on.
We need to get more right
It's
wingers
true.
on.
And the fact that the leftist is saying this that's real. We'll get more right wingers on. Fuentes next. Don't you worry.
Nick Fuentes, open invitation.
Open invitation to Nick Fuentes.
This will get like 15K views. One of you must know Nick Fuentes. Tell him he's invited.
He's invited by. Come on down, Fuentes.
He's invited to the studio.
Fuente.
I feel like the theory of having Nick Fuentes on is fun, and then we're gonna talk to him for 5 minutes, and we're like, oh, this guy's really
We're like,
big
I regret
drag.
this immediately.
But not even because he's like controversial. He's just gonna be like kind of surly and annoying.
Kind of a wretched soul.
Yeah, I'm like, oh, this guy's like not very fun to be around.
We're ruining this already. We've pre-ruined this interview.
Nick Fuentes, you're invited by. You have to be fun.
You're invited by, but try to be like, try to be cool. Like, do your best. I don't know if that's capable. That's within
just be
you.
fun, man.
How
We'll go
about just sincere?
Yeah,
Yeah.
A real person.
Yeah, be a real guy.
I don't know if you can do that. But
No, that's the problem. That's the problem. We only like interfacing with people. Like, you're a very sincere person. You're a pure soul. We've enjoyed having you here. It's been a pleasure having you. And
Thanks.
also thank you for the glazing, because that's what I was fishing for.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's
No,
just
you're welcome.
it's tough sometimes, because some people really are like just wretched, and it's like hard to be around them.
Yeah.
And that actually has very little to do with their with their political views and more to do with just their vibe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I find I do meet more. This is my only, like, I don't have apprehensions towards having right wingers on ideologically. It's just the right wingers I meet are very tarnished souls. I don't meet very many who are like
Tarnished is a good word.
yeah, like I don't meet very many where I'm like, oh wow, you're like pretty based, or like I see like your principles you're operating from.
Or you're
It's
like,
always
funny
like
and charismatic.
yeah, they're always
and
antisocial.
interesting. Yeah,
it's
the
always
an-
predicated
it's the-
on like
it
this
is the
just
antisocial.
antisocial
But you know,
misanthropy.
we're in a bubble, obviously. Like, you know, if there's any good right wingers in Toronto, send them our way.
Show me a good right winger. I'm fucking like, I'm sympathetic to all those ideas, man. You start talking about like fucking
He goes on a racial tirade every so often.
You start talking about rapes in the UK, I'm like, yeah, man, I'm with you. Like, I'm there. I love children.
You love children.
I hate degeneracy. I love families.
I love children.
You can't say you love children. You can't say you love children anymore, man.
I love children.
Yeah.
It sucks. They took that from us. Epstein took that from us.
Epstein took that from
And
us.
Trump.
Yeah.
You hear Trump trafficked Virginia Joffreys? He admitted to it.
What?
Virginia Joffreys worked at Mar-a-Lago in his spa.
Was that the woman that killed herself?
Yeah, the woman that Epstein's first accused that killed herself.
Why didn't she talk about that?
At 17, she did. But
Yeah,
then
I
Trump
know.
like confirmed it. She's like,
I know she talked about it.
because he was like, was one of them Virginia? And she's like, yeah, Virginia Joffrey. She worked at my spa. Then Epstein took her, but like she was 17 at the time. So, anyways.
Yeah,
Enough of that-
these people need to face justice.
I agree.
Some
Yeah.
kind of justice.
Hey, it's coming, man. We got Luigi. There was the accidental Luigi the other day. Killed the CEO of the Blackstone
An accidental
Real Estate
Luigi.
Trust.
Wait, the CEO?
Oh, you didn't. So you know the guy that's shooting at Manhattan.
Yeah, I heard that there was some sort of conflagration
Yes.
outside of Blackstone headquarters, but I
So-
didn't know.
He, a half black, half Japanese man from Las Vegas, showed up with an M4 to shoot up the NFL headquarters because he had a personal gripe with the NFL.
Wait. Seriously?
Yes,
You hyperstitioned that.
I
the
did
other
hyper
night.
because
Oh
it's
my
exactly what I
goodness.
said. I read that. I'm like, I guarantee you this is something retarded. Like he has a personal gripe with the NFL, but he accidentally, in the shooting, killed the CEO of Blackstone's Real Estate Trust.
What?
Because he took the wrong elevator to the wrong part of the building and went to Blackstone instead.
Dude. Okay.
And unless this is a CIA psyop, which I've been hearing, he had a note on him. He had a thing he had written in a suicide note that was like, "I'm doing this because he had like CTE from training for football," and was like, "Oh, I fuck football. I hate it."
What? Dude. Okay. What
Perfect.
are you calling these like centrist guys who like the guy who shot Trump, the kid?
Yeah.
What's the term for that? Like the centrist, the radical centrist, or whatever.
Anti-centrist? Radical centrist?
I don't know.
What do you mean, like ideologically?
But yeah, like this ideology, like the non-ideological shooter is
Yeah.
like
Oh, yeah.
is like a rising tide. Like the guy
Yeah.
who shot Trump, the other guy who shot Trump, like Ryan Ruth.
Yeah. His son just got arrested for having like 10,000 terabytes of child porn. So
That's the problem with being a
Yeah.
pedophile hunter these days. It's all, you're always going to be like associated with being a pedophile.
yeah.
You're like really anti-pedophile. Horseshoe theory. Horseshoe theory.
It's the real horseshoe theory, the pedophile, the anti-pedophile.
Yeah, no, but a lot of these shooters are. It's like half the time people overestimate ideology. This is what I've learned in my ideological studies. Is like a lot of the time it's just because like someone personally wrongs you and you're schizophrenic, you're mentally ill. Like the guy who shot Shinzo Abe. Yeah, it was like kind of political, but also it's just like he was part of like a weird sect of Japanese culture, which is a cult, and that Shinzo Abe just slighted, or like he like left the cult and then Shinzo Abe supported the cult. It was like very
I
complicated.
think it was because the guy's mother was a part of the Moonies,
Right.
which is like a Korean cult, and Shinzo Abe is also affiliated with said cult,
Right.
and so his mom was like made destitute.
Right. She like lost all of her money.
She lost all her bread
Yeah.
because of her.
But like
political
that's like
activities.
not
Tough
so
scene.
simple as like the guy was far right or,
Yeah,
or whatever,
yeah.
you know.
I mean, most really strongly ideological people aren't, going to end up being that driven towards like praxis to do something. Even like, most political shootings have been historically right wing. There's very few left wing shootings.
Yeah.
Like, or like terrorist attacks, like the Oklahoma City bombings. That guy was a far right, like read the Turner Diaries, a little schizo,
Well, yeah.
sort of like cult adjacent. Like no one has existed, and forgive me if I'm wrong here, correct me, but I cannot think of a guy who's like, oh, I have to kill a capitalist because like this capitalist is doing this thing. It's always weird.
Well, there's about to be a left wing shooting.
You're gonna shoot me?
You have to die at the
You're
end of
left
the
wing.
podcast.
You're coming out as a social democrat.
No, I'm shooting a left winger.
Oh, you're shooting a left winger.
Okay.
What's the
Oh,
real?
But I am shooting
Sacrifice
with
my
my left
life.
hand, so maybe I am a leftist.
Yeah.
What's the real horseshoe theory?
The real horseshoe theory here is I think that we can all come together under Harper's eco-socialist tyranny, and the right would like it, the left would like it,
And you're gonna die either way.
you're gonna die either way. Is there a better horseshoe in
You
here?
know what they call death?
The great
Equalizer.
ultimate great
the ultimate
equalizer.
horseshoe theory.
It's true.
Right wingers and left wingers, we'd be dying.
Right wingers, whether you're right winger or left winger, we're all gonna die from climate change unless we adapt, and we have to
Yeah.
adapt, and we have to put our human power somewhere.
It's fun for the whole family.
What's up, Sam?
Yo.
That's fun.
We were gonna kill Harper,
Yeah, they're just sacrificing.
and
for the
that's
cause.
the real horseshoe theory. Oh, also we have Patreon questions, so we're gonna kill him and then bring him back to life.